What is up, my dudes? It is your boy Jigby back with the Madden '08 Fantasy Draft franchise with the Buffalo Bills. We are going to do a bit of a preview package. Gonna look at the top seeds in the AFC and NFC, and then look at the games that we have coming up. We're in the wild card round, where we have a pretty even distribution of records, with one very interesting outlier. Um, but we managed, as the Bills, to sneak in to that little postseason scrap, despite having one of the worst team turnover ratings historically. Like, we threw 43 interceptions on the year between all of our quarterbacks. Fitz alone had 27, which is rough. Or 26. We'll see when we get to him. But, yeah. We're going to go ahead and look at each team. And we should just have a little bit of a clip for each one. Not going to be too crazy, but give us an idea of what they are actually going to be looking like as they face off against one another. Now, one thing I want to point out is that in Madden '08, you cannot watch the game. I didn't know that. In Madden 12, you can, and Madden 12 is what I've been playing more of. It's a great game. Both of these, Madden '08 and Madden 12, they're my faves, so it's part of why I like to do this. I kind of prefer the difficulty of Madden '08, even though the turnovers are absurd. But I do really like the evolution that we got in Madden 12. Anyway, tangent aside, let's go ahead and take a look at our first seed, which is actually going to be the Rams, number one in the league at the end of the regular season. They managed to pull ahead of both the Giants and the Patriots. Alright, so looking at the Rams, they have all three of their passers with some form of production on the year. DJ Shockley, AJ Feely, but it is Phillip Rivers who managed to lead their charge. If we look at him, he's the MVP in the NFC and the quarterback of the year for the NFC. He did pretty well. 106.2 rating, 39-12 for total yards, 35 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. No big bombs, and only sacked 36 times on the year, but 63% passer completion rating, which is pretty good. I think he is a favorite to win, but there is a curse of coming in as the number one seed. You don't always get what you want. Past that, they had one of the better rushers on the season. I'm going to up my intake volume just a smidge, because I'm not in announcer mode. They have Larry Johnson, who had 1,663 yards on the ground this year on 323 attempts. That's pretty solid. 13 rushing touchdowns on the year. 3 fumbles, 86 broken tackles, 524 yards after the first hit, and 6 20-plus yard runs, 70 yards for his longest. They do have Mike Alstott, but he is going to be out for the remainder of the season. If I am not mistaken, he was taken out with a vertebrae injury. They also have Darren Sproles in his second year. He's not done too much, 32 carries, 177 yards. So you can kind of see they focused on Larry Johnson. On the receiving end, they have Donald Driver, who is one of the better players at this point. He got NFC Wide Receiver of the Year. He had 94 catches and 1,530 yards. He got 14 receiving touchdowns, 438 yak, which is pretty good. Only 7 drops throughout the entire year. Pretty sure Peel had 7 drops in a single game, so rough for us. They'll also have Arnaz Battle. He looks like he's injured. We'll go figure out how poor that will play out for them. They have Greg Olsen in his rookie year. 36 catches, 346 yards, and a touchdown. Not too bad. Looks like he had no drops, so pretty sure hands for his targets. Larry Johnson, 2 drops, He had 2 receiving touchdowns, 34 catches, 303 yards there. They have Brandon Lloyd, 30 catches, 393 yards, 1 touchdown, 88 yak, which isn't bad. Larry Johnson, 255 on the yak. That's pretty good. 2 drops. Meh, meh, meh. They also have Jacoby Jones in his rookie year. 24 catches, 384 yards, 7 touchdowns on the year, which is pretty solid, especially for a rookie. Only 5 drops, so, I mean, that's not a great ratio, but it is what it is. Mike Allstott will not be a factor in the game. Cedric Wilson had 18 catches for 214 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 6 drops, which is pretty bad. Dwayne Blakely, 1 drop, 12 yak, 1 receiving touchdown, 9 catches for 60 yards, and Gerald Sowell, who they went and hired to replace the injured Allstott. He only came in on the tail end if we look at his season stats. Yeah, I mean, at best, he came in at week 13 and had minimal production, so nothing wild, but 5 catches, 39 yards, no touchdowns, few yak, meh. Blocking wise, they are not going to be the strongest team. They're starting right tackles. I mean, these are both tackles. They're both right, but I think Barron is playing left. They've given up double-digit sacks on the year. Haven't breached the triple-digit pancake mark, which is pretty rough. So they potentially could get ousted if they match up against a strong pass-rushing team. Now, they will either face off against the Chicago Bears or the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys have a very solid pass attack when it comes to blitzing. Bears don't. So we'll take a look at that as well. But we're going through the top of the seeds. So after the Rams, we are going to go ahead and pivot over to everybody's favorite evil empire, the New England Patriots. Oh, we need to look at defense, actually. So Rams, defense, and then we'll get over to the Patriots. But Leroy Hill, 3 triple-digit tacklers on the year is pretty solid. Leroy Hill with 117, Nick Barnett with 114, and Michael Boley with 111. Nick Barnett managed to win an award on the year, Linebacker of the Year for the NFC. They had 4 TFL, and 3. It drops off precipitously after that, though. Rashad Washington, their strong safety, and Jason Allen, their free safety, bringing up the rear with 67 and 63, respectively. As far as sacks go, we have Alex Brown, their right end, with 9. Larry Triplett with 6. He's one of their defensive tackles. And Adewale Ogulnolai with 4. He's one of their ends. It's the left end. So a decent pass attack. Let's look at their interceptions. Pretty good. Pretty good on there. We have Kelly Herndon with 4. Nick Barnett with 4. Fabian Washington with 4. Michael Boldy with 2. Rashad Washington with 2. Jason Allen with 2. Nathan Vasher with 2. So they've done a pretty solid job throughout the year. Their pass defense is also pretty solid. 12 for Fabian Washington. Rashad Washington had 6. So it looks like they're playing pretty effectively across the board. They are 11-5. There's a 3-way tie, 4-way tie for best record this year. The Rams are 11-5 and first seed. Patriots 11-5, second seed. Raiders 11-5, third seed. And we also have the Colts, 4th seed, 11-5. So pretty solid across the board. A few forced fumbles, 2 and 1 for the majority of them, so nothing crazy. They have 1 block on the year, and that's Nathan Vasher. I believe that's either a field goal block or a punt block. No safeties, 2 defensive touchdowns, Nick Barnett and Rashad Washington. They also have Chris Brown as their starting kicker. He's 27 of 33, so an 81 field goal percentage. And he had a 53 long, so he's been knocking it out on extra points, 54 for 54. So he seems to be automatic, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, doing the paperwork, all that jazz. No kick return touchdowns for them and only one punt return touchdown by Arnaz Battle, who's probably not going to be okay. That's how it goes. We will go ahead and check out the New England Patriots as the number 2 seed now. Coming into the number 2 seed with the New England Patriots, they are backed up by Billy Volek. That is their second string quarterback. He's okay. Jon Kitna, one of the lower-end quarterbacks that's in here. If we look at the bottom 3 of the quarterbacks... I didn't even do anything. That are in this postseason, it will be, in terms of worst to best of the bottom 3, Fitzpatrick, because unfortunately I'm terrible at passing, Steve McNair, and Jon Kitna. So... they are going to be fighting for their lives in this postseason, and we'll see how they do. But he went for 3703 yardage through the air. He had an 89.3 passer rating, 31 passing touchdowns, and 19 interceptions. He got sacked 43 times. He was beat up throughout the year. And a 61 passing completion percentage, so not great. We'll see how he does. As far as rushing goes, Lawrence Maroney was their lead rusher, and he only went for 923 yards on 226 attempts, 6 touchdowns on the year, so they're not that great offensively. Deshaun Foster is their second string running back. He went for 572 yards on 120 attempts and also had 6 rushing touchdowns, so meh. Maroney had 4 fumbles, Foster had none, and neither of them really got a lot of 20-plus runs, 2 for Maroney, 1 for Foster. So they aren't an explosive pair, and we could potentially see them get knocked out in that divisional round, so here's hoping. Ben Utecht is their fullback. He had 127 yards rushing on 51 attempts and 1 touchdown. Looks like he fumbled twice and 10 broken tackles, so he's not really a threat either. They primarily attack through the air. Kenny Watson is their third string halfback. He's a non-factor. Yeah, not a lot of guys here who matter at that point. Bunch of 1-and-1 attempts. So receiving... they have Muhsin Muhammad, who is showing injured. I don't know that he'll be out by the time we get to the divisional round, because they get that first week bye. But 85 catches on the year for 1420 on the yards, 11 receiving touchdowns, and 253 yak. So he's not going for a lot after the catch, but he doesn't seem to have to. He only dropped 2 on the year and 68 long, which is pretty solid. Devery Henderson had 52 catches and 820 yards, 10 touchdowns, 190 yak, and 7 drops, so not a lot of great hands there. Ashley Leslie had 42 catches, 593 yards, 3 touchdowns, 143 yak, and 4 drops. So Jon Kitna does not have the most reliable weapons, but considering he was in our conference with, the Jets and the Dolphins and us, we weren't a terribly competitive conference. So the Pats happen to have a very easy road to the postseason. Lawrence Maroney was doing work out of the backfield, 37 catches, 347 yards, 4 touchdowns, 241 yak. He almost matched Muhammad. 4 drops, so he's doing pretty well. Utecht, doing okay out of the backfield, 28 catches, 152 yards, 2 touchdowns, 149 yak, 2 drops. So they combine pretty well for a dual threat attack. Anthony Fasano is their second string tight end, but 27 catches, 191 yards, no touchdowns, 4 drops, 37 yak. He's not a huge threat, but he'll probably develop pretty well. Demetrius Williams, 20 catches, 259 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 drops. Not a lot of yak. So, nothing too wild going on there. Just kind of showing them as we go. Why would Wesley Britt, their left tackle, have any? Who knows? As we look through more of this, their line has some pretty solid performers, but one double-digit sack let up throughout the year with Langston Walker, their starting right tackle. Past that, no triple-digit pancakes, but not a whole lot of double-digit sacks allowed. It really just seems like Langston Walker is outmatched. Yeah, we didn't even sack him when we played him the second time. Oof. Okay. Man, how's he doing? He's an 81 overall. That would explain it. So, I mean, they're a solid team. It's just they are not... I really don't think they're going to make it past the divisional, if I have to predict it. They will face off against either us, the Buffalo Bills, or the Baltimore Ravens, depending on who comes out in our contest. We are both 10-6, so we will see. Lofa Tatupu led the team. They only have two triple-digit tacklers on the year. Lofa Tatupu with 115. Sean Thompson with 100 even. Tatupu had 13 tackles for loss and 7 sacks. He also had 4 interceptions. Those might have come against us. Stop it. 2... Nope. Fumbles came against us. He had 3 pass defenses, 7 forced fumbles. There it was. So he was a very solid performer. He is also in the Pro Bowl this year. Found out that we cannot play the Pro Bowl in 08 on this version, so that kind of sucks. I know you can play it in 12. I will consider posting Madden 12 and NCAA 12 content. That's really a discussion as we move forward. But for now, 08 is great. Sean Thompson was able to get 5 sacks on the year, 8 tackles for loss, no interceptions, 3 pass defenses, and 4 fumbles. These guys are one of the more productive as far as fumbles go. Anthony Spencer, their rookie left outside linebacker, just barely missed the triple-digit tackle mark, but 11 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, 4 interceptions, 3 pass defenses, 3 fumble recoveries, 1 defensive touchdown. Sean Thompson even had one. He won plenty of awards. He had Defensive Rookie of the Year in the NFL and for the AFC, which, pretty good. Takeo Spikes was also right there, 93 tackles. Their pass attack, their blitz, I should say, is solid. Nobody got double digits, but they are across the board. They attack from all angles. They don't let up. So everyone's nearing that mark. 9 for Will Smith, 8 for Robert Smith. The Smith edges are pretty scary. Tatupu with 7, Takeo Spikes with 6, Anthony Spencer with 6, Sean Thompson 5, Mike McKenzie, their corner, had 4, Nick Ferguson, their strong safety, had 4, Dwayne Robertson had 3. So yeah, as you can see, they come from all angles and they try to take it down. So I don't really want to face off against them. Ed Reed only had 53 tackles on the year and 1 TFL, but 7 interceptions. 3 pass defenses and 2 forced fumbles and a fumble recovery. He had 1 of their defensive touchdowns. We had the most defensive touchdowns on the year. We also had 42 or 43 interceptions, so I definitely need to look at the sliders and see how that plays out. Overall, they have a solid defense. We'll also go look at each of the overall productions and see how they played out. Kicking, I mean, they had Mike Nugent, 26 of 34, 76% completion rating, or field goal rate. 54 for a long and dotted all the I's and T's for his extra points. He could lose them the game if it comes down to a field goal. I don't think he had any crucial misses in the year, though. So, we'll see. And Bidwill did okay. So, yeah. Moving on to the third, because nothing too wild. Darrelle Revis in his rookie year had 3 punt return touchdowns, so that's scary. The Raiders are our third seed on the year. They are led by Brett Favre. They also went 11-5, so they will be facing off against whoever wins the Titans and Colts rematch. And we'll be taking a look at them as well. Brett Favre did pretty well. 100.5 passer rating on the year, 3,469 yards, 28 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He only sacked 28 times, so that's pretty good. And a 60% completion rating, which is okay. He's backed up by Jamarcus Russell in his rookie year, who didn't really do too much, but no interceptions, no touchdowns. Willie Parker has officially rushed for the most yards at this point, 2,159. Managed to take the season record away from Eric Dickerson's 1984 record. I believe in real life this was when Adrian Peterson was able to top that list, or it was LT, I forget. But pretty solid as far as that goes. He also did that on 422 touches, so he was a workhorse for sure. He had 16 touchdowns, which a lot of production without getting all the touchdowns. 7 fumbles, 123 broken tackles, 624 yards after the first hit, and 10 20-yard or more runs, 72-yard long. Brandon Myrie is their fullback. He had 238 yards off 102 carries, 4 touchdowns, 1 fumble, so he's pretty solid. I think he is going to be a threat for whoever has to face off against the Raiders in the divisional round. We also had Chris Brown, their backup running back, 40 touches, 173 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Nothing too wild. Randy Moss got 21 yards off 5 carries. Okay. Not going to go into the single digits there. As far as receiving goes, Randy Moss had 59 catches, 926 yards, and 11 touchdowns. That is far removed from his actual 07 season with Tom Brady in the 50 passing touchdown season. 238 yak, 12 drops, 51 long. So Brett Favre managed to spread things around quite a bit. I think they have a pretty balanced attack. Facing off against them would not be fun. Clayton went for 48 catches, 848 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He had half of Moss's drops, but all things considered, Willie Parker was doing work, 41 catches, almost 500 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 drops. So we can expect a lot, 390 yak. And then as you can see, Myrie, Stovall, Ferguson, they are a good team at this stage with how they came out of the fantasy draft. John Runyon, their tackle, got Offensive Lineman of the Year and both the NFL and the AFC. He is good, 119 pancakes, only 6 sacks allowed. It falls off precipitously past that because David Boss didn't even have half his pancakes, and only allowed 1 less sack than Runyon. But he made the Pro Bowl, so they have a very stout offensive line. Looks like Sean Locklear was their starting right tackle, because Runyon is starting left tackle, and Locklear is hurt, so should be running Seth Wand on the right there. I wouldn't expect too many sacks against them. On the defensive side of the ball, they have Demario Williams and Willie McGinnis as their triple-digit producers on tackles. 107 for Demario Williams, their right outside linebacker, and 100 even for McGinnis, their left outside linebacker. Only 8 tackles for loss between them, 9 sacks between them. Williams got 7 of those, but then McGinnis got 4 interceptions. It looks like 9 pass defenses for Williams, 5 for McGinnis, 2 forced fumbles for Williams, 1 for McGinnis, couple fumble recoveries each. No defensive touchdowns for him. The Raiders overall are a solid team, as you can see looking through it. Patrick Surtain did very well, 2 interceptions. If we look at this, nobody got more than 4, but they had a few people spread around with 4. So McGinnis, Sanders, they have 2 Sanders, Bob Sanders and Lewis Sanders. Okay. I'm not going to argue. Glenn Earl did pretty well. I mean, not a lot of defensive touchdowns for them. 2 by Sanders, 1 by Bob, 1 by Glenn Earl, and 1 by Patrick Surtain. So they aren't scoring a lot, but they are turning the ball around, which is pretty good. Kicking-wise, they're behind Jason Elam. He was abysmal this year. 30 made on 43 attempts, 69. Nice average percentage. He was blocked once, only had a 53 long. He missed an extra point. So there is a good chance that if something comes down to a clutch kick, they'll be in trouble. On punting, Chris Kluwe, I mean, he's a good punter. 69 punts, perfect number. 2,894 yards. He's a good punter. I think he has helped. They have had 8 touchbacks, 26 downed behind the 20. So that's pretty solid. Kick return-wise, they have Leon Hall in his rookie year, who has a 97-yard long for a touchdown. And Robert Ferguson also had a 97-yard to the house. They are dangerous, it looks like, on returns. And that puts them in pretty good shape. We will now go look at our 4th seed with the New York Giants. As we know, Drew Brees was leading the Giants. We happened to pick them apart, but that was just how it played out. We had found our rhythm by then. He had a 100.7 QBR on the year, 2,931 yards, 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. How many of those came against us? 2 of them. Nice. Jason Campbell is backing him up, so that's interesting. But he had a 61 completion percentage, so that's not bad. Drew Brees is doing pretty solid in this particular setting. Joseph Adai is really where their work came in. He had 1,388 yards on 328 touches, 7 rushing touchdowns, 8 fumbles, 94 broken tackles, not a single rush over 20 yards, however, so he was just pounding the ball the entire year. Leon Washington was their backup, and he had 435 yards, 3 touchdowns on 87 touches. And then Lawrence Vickers, their fullback, 214 yards, 2 touchdowns on 96 touches. They're doing pretty well. Adai had 3 fumbles on the year, and that was it. So they don't have a lot of explosiveness, but they have a lot of consistency. If we look at receiving, Santana Moss, who had a big game against us, if I'm not mistaken, 5 catches, 140 yards, and a touchdown. That was pretty good. One of his better games this year. But 57 catches and almost 1,000 yards is pretty solid. 12 touchdowns on the year, 344 yaks, 7 drops, 74 long, which definitely came against us. Reggie Brown, 49 catches, 577 yards, 9 touchdowns, and Joseph Adai putting up work, 37 catches, 274 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 drops. So I would expect this attack to continue as they go into the postseason. Now, their postseason, also bye week, they will face off against either the 49ers or the Buccaneers, both of whom are 10-6, just like them. As the 4th seed, they happen to sneak in there with their 10-6 record. They were almost 11-5, just like the rest of them, but c'est la vie, I messed that up for them. They had 2 double-digit sacks allowed on the year, with Jordan Gross, who won an award and is going to the Pro Bowl. Let's check that out. He got Offensive Lineman of the Year for the NFC. He didn't allow any sacks when we played him, so that's how it goes. We also should see Artis Hicks, their right guard, so it looks like they're probably weaker on the right side, and that's what's causing them trouble. But they have a stout line, no triple-digit pancakes. 2 triple-digit tacklers with Sam Williams, their left outside linebacker, and Napoleon Harris, their middle linebacker, 104, 102, respectively. Leading tackles for loss, Pat Williams, also a Pro Bowler, had 11, and Sean Ellis, their left end, had 10. Sacks, Sean Ellis had 10, Pat Williams had 9. Ebenezer Ekubon, their right end. Right end had 8. So they are a solid defense. They didn't do too much against us, but that's just because we found a rhythm. Chris McAllister, their leading corner, also a Pro Bowler, only had 4 interceptions on the year. Mike Adams, Brittany Poole, they have a scattering of low ball interceptions across the board. Pass defenses, Brodney Poole had 7, Philip Buchanan with 6, so couple solid performers there. Handful of forced fumbles across the board. Recoveries they're pretty good at. They had 3 blocks on the year. Dante Whitner, Brodney Poole, and Aaron Ross in his rookie year. 1 safety forced by Sam Williams, their left outside linebacker. And 2 defensive touchdowns. Terrell Suggs, pretty sure that came against us. This is not an excellent season stats screen, but whatever. And Brodney Poole, their free safety. I don't like playing Terrell Suggs, he's scary. Phil Dawson is their kicker. He went 26 of 32 for an 81 field goal percentage, 53-yard long. He was 41 of 42 on extra points. 1 was blocked, so that makes sense. It looks like he's missed 2 over 50 yards, so that's his weak point. And missed 2 of it 14 in the 40 to 49 range. So if we can keep him back, he'll be in good shape. Punting, Josh Miller, he's doing great. 80 punts, 3,400 yards. Nothing wild there. Santana Moss had 1,131 kick return yards on 45 kick returns, but no touchdowns, so he was setting him up with good position. Looks like no punt returns either. Santana Moss got 522 yards on 57 returns, so pretty solid, pretty solid. With that, we will go ahead and just start going down the matchups in the wild card round. So we are going to start in the AFC with the Titans and Colts rematch. So we're heading over to see the Titans, who are visiting the Indianapolis Colts. Again, they just lost that matchup. The Titans have Aaron Rodgers as their backup quarterback. He did pretty solid in that role, but they are starting Michael Vick, who had a 94.4 QBR this year, 3,102 yards, 29 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He was sacked 44 times, which I think is going to be his biggest issue. He had a 57 completion percentage, which is rough. He kind of fell off on the tail end of the year. If we look at it, he started off very hot. 5-game winning streak and then loss against Houston and Oakland. And it's kind of just been very sketchy on the tail end of the year. After their victory over Jacksonville, they lost to Denver, beat Cincinnati, lost to Houston, beat the Chargers, lost to Kansas City, beat the Jets, lost to Indianapolis. So they're basically alternating victories. If they keep that trend up, they're going to head to Indianapolis and pull out a win, which would be very good for them. If we go over to their rushing attack, Thomas Jones is their starting halfback. He had 1,445 yards and 5 touchdowns on 302 attempts. Not a great touchdown performance on the year, but pretty solid for yardage. So putting him in position to end drives. Michael Vick only had 449 yards on 44 attempts and 2 touchdowns. So not what I'd expect from that simulation, but it is what it is. Justin Griffith, their fullback, had 258 yards and 6 touchdowns on 83 attempts. It looks like they were able to get into position, and then Griffith was the cap to their drives most of the time. And then obviously a handful of oddballs here, but receiving-wise, no 1,000-yard receivers, but Larry Fitzgerald, their starting receiver, 59 catches, 818 yards, 11 touchdowns, 260 yak, and 8 drops. He's a solid performer, so I think we can continue to see more of that. Ted Ginn Jr. In his rookie year got 43 catches, 726 yards, 7 touchdowns, 131 yak, 3 drops. So we should be able to continue to see pretty solid production there. Tight end McMichael, 35 catches, 390 yards. It drops off pretty significantly, but they obviously spread the ball around quite a bit, and I think that's going to help them. Blocking-wise, you can see where the issues lie. Todd Weiner only gave up 5 sacks on the year, so that's pretty solid. Joe Thomas in his rookie year, and I'm a huge fan of Joe Thomas, he gave up 10. But had a nice 69 pancakes on the year. The perfect IHOP. I don't think that's going to affect him too much. If we look at his abilities, he's an 83 overall in his rookie year. I'd expect him to carry on with trajectory very similar to his real-life counterpart. But really it was just allowing a certain number of sacks. As you saw, it was just a scattering here and there, but it added up. So 1 sack allowed here and there isn't too bad. Their real issue was their center, Hank Fraley, who gave up 17 on the year. So their biggest vulnerability is the fact that they are getting beat up right in the middle of their line. That's rough, especially because Michael Vick does better out of a shotgun formation, and the Titans tend to run an ace formation, so they're getting beat up at center. He's not going to be able to get away. So that's pretty bad for them. He's an 83 overall as well, so I think they'll be looking for a center to bolster their line on the year. It is what it is. As far as defense goes, they only had 1 triple-digit tackler with Keith Brooking, their starting Mike. 116 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 4 interceptions. 1 pass defense and 1 fumble recovery. He is a very solid player, but he did not make the Pro Bowl. They also had Derek Brooks, 98 tackles on the year, so their linebacking core is pretty solid. As far as sacks go, they had 2 double-digit sack producers on the year. Trevor Price, their left end, with 11, who made the Pro Bowl. And Fred Robbins, their starting, second-string defensive tackle, who had 10. He also made the Pro Bowl. Erasmus James and Kevin Williams, the right end and starting defensive tackle, respectively, 6 and 5 each. So they're producing, just not on a Pro Bowl caliber. Interceptions, oops, Ty Hill set a league record with 16 interceptions this year. He made the Pro Bowl as well, enshrined himself in the record books. It looks like Carlos Rogers, a corner, also got 8, so half the production of his counterpart on the other side of the field. But they are really going to be producing. I think they are a very stout team, and if they can overcome the Colts, they'll be in good shape. They are a very productive defense. They had a lot of pass defenses as well. As you can see, 6s and 5s. Forced fumbles, they're just scattering those. Nobody with any major numbers. But Will Allen, their free safety, has recovered 4 of those, just like Derek Brooks. So they're quick to find the ball, which is impressive. Roman Harper and Carlos Rogers each have a block on the year and no safeties. But Erasmus James and Ty Hill both have defensive touchdowns. Nate Kading is their kicker. He was 27 of 36 for a 75 field goal percentage, 56 long, 43 of 44 extra points. He did not attempt any of them in the 17 to 29 yard range, so all year he was really booting for it. He was 2 of 5 in the 50 plus range, so that's pretty rough. And it looks like Skiffries is their punter. 84 punts, 36-28 on the yardage. 1 was blocked. He's 28 inside the 20, so he's a good punter. As far as kick returns go, Ty Hill had 380 yards, nothing to write home about, but Ted Ginn Jr., 53 kick returns, 1,516 yards and a touchdown, 104 yards, so he is a scary returner. He also did 47 punt returns, 712 yards, and a touchdown on punt returns. So, yeah, you want to try to keep it away from him. We will now go look at their opponent in the wild card round, the Indianapolis Colts. Donovan McNabb leading the way for the Indianapolis Colts. He had a 96.3 quarterback rating, 4,370 yards. 4,735 yards. Got very dyscalculia there. 35 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, sacked 49 times, 60% completion rating. He also made the Pro Bowl, and he racked in awards, Quarterback of the Year for the AFC and NFL, and the MVP. So that is very dangerous as well. There is always the trouble of being the MVP and how you do not get to win the Super Bowl if you are the MVP. I don't make the rules, the universe does. As you can see, wow, 5 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, 386 yards in their final game against Tennessee in Week 17. But the beginning of the season was a little rough for him. One very stellar performance in Week 7 against Jacksonville with 430 yards, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. Week 14, 462 yards, 4 touchdowns when they beat the Baltimore Ravens. So he produces, and I think that's going to show. As far as rushing goes, they had Ronnie Brown, 14-13 on yardage, 13 touchdowns on 298 attempts, 4 fumbles, 109 broken tackles. He is one of the better halfbacks on the year. Ron Dane, second string, nothing really doing there. Donovan McNabb only had 132 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he only rushed 22 times, so that's pretty solid. He fumbled 9 times and only broke 1 tackle. So he is not doing very well on the ground. 111 yards for their fullback on 75 attempts, so not really great, but potentially capping off drives. On the receiving end, they had 2 1,000-plus receivers. Plaxico Burress with 93 catches, 1,421 yards, 15 touchdowns, 352 yaks, 7 drops. He is a scary player. Pretty sure he busted one off against us, didn't he? Boom, doo, doo. It doesn't show me our game. What? What the hell? Oh well. Oh, sorry, he doesn't play for the Giants. In my head, he did. Dante Stallworth, the other starting receiver, 57 catches, 1,032 yards, 6 touchdowns, 345 yak, also 7 drops, 77-yard long. So, scary receiving core that they have there. And we also have Daniel Graham, another Pro Bowler. So in their receiving core, they have 2 Pro Bowlers. I'm really surprised Stallworth didn't get it. But 48 catches, 387 yards, 2 touchdowns, no drops, very sure hands from a tight end. Ronnie Brown, halfback, 39 catches, almost 500 yards, 3 touchdowns. They are a good team through the air. David Clowney, rookie receiver, didn't know he existed. But nothing too wild there. This is where their problems primarily lie. Anthony Clement, their right tackle, 10 sacks allowed. Jamal Brown, their left tackle, also 10 sacks allowed. Scott Wells, their starting center, had 6, and then Jari Evans, their right guard, had 14. So their line is weak. Donovan McNabb is pulling wins out a lot. I mean, they've won 11 times, but it is in spite of their offensive line, not because of it. Defensively, 1 triple-digit tackler with Sean Phillips, their right outside linebacker. He had 100 even, 7 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 4 interceptions, 2 pass defenses, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, 1 defensive touchdown. So, Sean Phillips, Pro Bowler of the Year for the Colts defense. I mean, he is the leader that they need, I believe. They also have Bart Scott, their middle linebacker, who was just shy of it with 91 tackles on the year. Landon Johnson, 89. So their defense didn't have to do a whole lot. Rashawn Mathis, their starting cornerback, had 71 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 6 interceptions. 6 pass defenses, 3 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, and 1 defensive touchdown. He is also a Pro Bowler. So I think that is where they're getting most of their power, you know. If we look at sacks, Luis Castillo, their left end, had 11 sacks, also 11 tackles for loss. He is also a Pro Bowler. Greg Spires, another Pro Bowler, so their defensive ends are doing very well there. 11 sacks himself and 10 tackles for loss. Landon Johnson with 8, Sean Phillips, 5. Interception-wise, Rashawn Mathis with 6, Jason Webster, another corner, with 6. Sean Phillips had 4, then a spattering of 2s and 1s will be below that. So, not bad. I think... Castillo with 7 pass deflections. Daggum. It's pretty solid. They really are performing by taking the ball away from their opponents. They're causing a lot of turnovers. They are securing those. They've had 1 block on the year by Landon Johnson, 1 safety forced by Ryan Sims, couple of defensive touchdowns on the year. They have Jason Hansen as their kicker, 30 of 37 with an 81% field goal completion, 54-yard long, blocked 1 time. He had 50 of 51 extra points, no extra points blocked. He was 11 of 12 in the 30 to 39 range, no 17 to 29, 7 of 8 in the 40 to 49, and 3 of 7 in the 50 plus. So pretty rough there. Dirk Johnson is their punter, 73 punts, 3,188 yards. Looks like 29 inside the 20, 9 touchbacks, not bad. Kick return, Leigh Bowden had 1 returned kickoff, 101 yards. So their producer, I guess, was Cortland Finnegan, but he only had 1186 yards, 53 kick returns, no touchdowns. Decent yards, it looks like. Cortland Finnegan did have a punt return for a touchdown. 46 punt returns, 492 yards, 51 long. Not bad. We will now go look at our matchup. We'll do the same format. So, on to the Bills. We suck. We had all of our passers get in there this year. Ryan Fitzpatrick, easily the worst passer who's going to be coming into the game as a starter, 60.1 QBR. Matt Castle, 49.9. Chris Winkie, 43.2. I'm really thinking at this point I'm going to pick up a quarterback in the draft and try to trade Chris Winkie to a team in need next year. Keep Fitzpatrick and try to develop him. Matt Castle is in his contract year, and I don't like him, and I don't want him. But 12 touchdowns, 26 interceptions. 2196 on yardage, 68 long. He was only sacked 33 times, but as you can see, 3 sacks on Castle, 13 on Winkie. 61 completion percentage for Fitzpatrick. I just can't pass, guys. But we do have a silver lining. Marshawn Lynch, our spectacular rookie. He got Offensive Rookie of the Year for the NFL and the AFC. He had 1,810 yards and 18 touchdowns on 370 attempts. He had 10 fumbles, which was leading the league, 99 broken tackles, 1143 yards after the first hit, 12 for 20 or more, and 73-yard long. Ayambadejo was able to get into the Pro Bowl, which is pretty stellar. Playing above his rating at that point. 104 carries on the year, 513 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 fumble, 20 broken tackles, 283 yards after the first hit. He was just shy of having one 20-plus yard run with his 19-yard carry. But if we look at his career stats, look at that. He got all of his production in this 2007 season. 513 yards, 4 touchdowns. He almost doubled his touchdowns with us. So I like to run my fullbacks. I like to use them. We're good, you know. Jarius Norwood, almost 200 yards, but I didn't really use him. 33 touches compared to 370 for Lynch. Like, meh. Receiving, we had no 1,000 plus receivers, but we did have suitable, serviceable production from our weak receiving core. Eric Mould, 75 catches, 783 yards, 2 touchdowns, 213 yaks, 7 drops. So we really just aren't a passing team yet. Justin Peele managed to make the Pro Bowl, 73 catches, 713 yards, 5 touchdowns, but 21 drops. Like, he's got to up his hands. Antonio Bryant, 68 catches, 613 yards, 5 touchdowns, 191 yak, 2 drops. We don't really go through the air enough to make it matter. But Marshawn Lynch, 38 catches, 262 yards, no touchdowns, 315 yards, 2 drops. I feel like that is less than he actually dropped because I know I hit him in the face a few times with passes, but I guess that just doesn't count. Sidney Rice in his rookie year, 31 catches, 349 yards, 4 touchdowns, 5 drops. Nothing to write home about. Anthony Gonzalez, also a rookie, didn't even breach 200 yards. But it is what it is. We'll go to blocking. Jake Scott made the Pro Bowl, 86 pancakes, 8 sacks. Lilja also made the Pro Bowl, 52 pancakes, 5 sacks allowed. Kwame Harris, 28 pancakes, 8 sacks. Jonas Jennings, he is our only double-digit sacks allowed on the year. I'm pretty disappointed with him. I want a new left tackle. I almost exclusively scouted tackles and guards and centers, just offensive line throughout the year. Our defense, stellar. Our offense is terrible, and I want to start by building a brick wall that we can run behind, because we can run. We're okay there. Yeah, nothing too wild there. On defense, we had one triple-digit tackler. Antonio Cromartie and DeMarcus Ware and DeQuell Jackson were all very close, so don't want to discount their production on the year. We had the most Pro Bowlers on defense. I actually have those numbers. On the year, we had 10 total Pro Bowlers, 3 on offense, 6 on defense, and 1 on special teams. I believe the closest to us after that was the Indianapolis Colts, who had 3 on offense, 4 on defense. So we're in pretty good shape. Bengals also had 6 Pro Bowlers, but they are not in the postseason, unfortunately. I think they earned a spot. They really should have been. But they were all offensive Pro Bowlers. NFC, the most on a single team was the Seahawks with 6, and they are not in the postseason, so see how that plays out. I'm kind of surprised by that. But Chris Hope made the Pro Bowl. Antonio Cromartie made the Pro Bowl. And we can look. He had Defensive Back of the Year in the NFL and the AFC. He had 12 interceptions on the year, which puts him in the record books, tying for among the most in a single season. He's up there. DeMarcus Ware was able to get 17 sacks on the year, 44 tackles for loss. You can see our tackles for loss, DeQuell Jackson, DeMarcus Ware, 51 and 44 respectively. They didn't breach the triple-digit tackles, but they didn't have to, because almost all of their tackles were extremely helpful. We had no offense, but we made up for it by being a brutal defense. And we sacked a lot. If we look at it, DeQuell Jackson took the single-season sack record with 23. DeMarcus Ware was able to put himself up there. He had 17, and Vince Wilfork had 13. Vince Wilfork also made the Pro Bowl. Jared Allen only got 6. Gabaha Biamila was able to... I'm sorry. Allen and Gabaha Biamila had 7. Scott Fujita had 4, which was pretty good. Kevin Burnett, 3. Anthony Adams, 3. Sean Taylor made the Pro Bowl. And we'll see why. He had 89 tackles, 11 for loss, 2 sacks, 4 interceptions, 237 interception yards, 79-yard long, 3 pass defenses, 4 forced fumbles, 1 safety forced, and 3 defensive touchdowns. He killed it this year, and I'm very, very impressed and glad to have him. Matt Roth didn't really do anything. If we look at our interceptions, this is also why we managed to have the record we did. 14 for Nate Clements. That's a record. Antonio Cromartie, 12. Charles Woodson, 7. 5 for Shante Spencer. 4 for Chris Hope. 4 for Sean Taylor. 2 for DeQuell Jackson. We put up numbers on defense. And a big part of that as well, I mean, if you look, Shante Spencer, his big 105-yard return, it was this. The fact that we had 6 defensive touchdowns for Antonio Cromartie, 5 for Nate Clements, 3 for Shante Spencer, 3 for Sean Taylor, 2 for Chris Hope, 2 for Charles Woodson, and 1 for DeQuell Jackson and Gabaha Biamila. Our defense almost outscored our offense. It was pretty bad. So, yeah, we got to get better on offense, but defensively, if we can just maintain, we're in good shape. Yeah, I mean, Shante with that 105-yard return, that was just insane. Nate Clements, 20 pass defenses. Charles Woodson, 15. Cromartie and Spencer, 9 each. Chris Hope with 7. Like, we shut down the air. And that's really what we needed to do. If we look at forced fumbles, Sean Taylor with 4, DeMarcus Ware, Chris Hope, and DeQuell Jackson, 3 each. Cromartie and Lowe with 1. Vince Wilfork had 1. So did Matt Roth. And we recovered a lot of those. 3 for Cromartie and Gabaha Biamila. 2 for Jackson and Ware, 1 for Spencer and Miller, and Clements and Adams. So we were a good team on defense. Sean Taylor with our only defensive safety. Grammatica had a very good year, 37 field goals made on 39 attempts, 94% completion rating, 55-yard long, 63 of 63 on extra points, no blocks, also didn't kick, 17, 29 yards, so that's pretty interesting. That's not right, because I know we missed that chip shot in the Washington game, so stat tracking's a little off. That's how it goes. 6 of 7, 50 yards plus. Nor 107 kickoffs, 62 touchbacks. That's pretty good. Punting wise, 44 punts, 1,900 yards, 8 inside the 20, 4 touchbacks, so not bad, but I could get better. Kick return, we did pretty poorly, but Garrett Wolf had our only touchdown return of the year. 34 kick returns, 960 yards, 30 for Cribbs, 740 yards, 743 yards, whatever. Cribbs, the only punt returner we had, 53 punt returns, 496 yards. And that's us. We have a shot, especially because facing off against the Ravens, we murdered them in the regular season, so we'll see if they play better in the postseason. Let's go check them out. Rex Grossman is their starting quarterback, 92.2 rating, 3,667 yards, 35 passing touchdowns, 17 interceptions, sacked 46 times, 57 completion percentage. So not great there, but we'll see how that plays out. Actually, I know we had over 50% of his interceptions in week 7 when he threw 9 of his 17 against us. So, that's going to be pretty rough for them. But other than that, he had a pretty solid year. He did not make the Pro Bowl, so meh. Chris Perry, their starting running back, 1,083 yards, 4 touchdowns on 257 attempts. 2 fumbles, 63 broken tackles, and 80-yard long, and that was his only 20-plus yard run. Kevin Jones was their starter, but he was injured pretty early, so nothing really big there, and I don't think he's going to be able to play. 566 yards on 138 attempts. Yeah, he was taken out by us, and we ended the man's season. What can I say? I believe we earned it. Ahmad Hall, their fullback, 176 yards, 1 touchdown on 93 attempts, nothing big. So they aren't big on the ground. Receiving is where they were. Darrell Jackson, their best receiver, 73 catches, 992 yards, 11 touchdowns. That's the best they had. 8 drops, no 1,000-yard receivers there, so meh. We'll see how they do. Dallas Clark was able to make the Pro Bowl this year, so that's pretty interesting. Let's see. Ravens. What do you got? 3 Pro Bowlers, 2 on offense, and 1 on defense. Who is your other Pro Bowler? Yeah, nothing wild on their offense, but a pretty solid receiving core. Mark Tosher, their right tackle, 15 sacks allowed. Barry Sims, their left tackle, 14 sacks allowed, so they're weak on the outside, and that's where their problems lie. Leonard Davis, their right guard, their other Pro Bowler on offense. And Casey Wigman, 3 for Davis on sacks allowed, and 8 for Wigman. 7 for Evan Mathis, their right guard. So, not a great offensive line, but if they could get their tackles under control, they'll be in good shape. On defense, David Thornton, their only triple-digit tackler, although Antonio Pierce and Scott Shanley right there with 96 each. Their defensive Pro Bowler, who's it going to be? Jamal Williams, their starting defensive tackle. He was able to get in with 42 tackles, 12 TFL, 9 sacks, 3 pass defenses, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery. So decent production on the year. Doesn't look like they had a lot of award winners on their team. Jamal Williams leading the pack with tackles for loss with 12. Mike Patterson, their other defensive tackle, with 10. So they can produce, just not that great. Derek Burgess, their only double-digit sacker on the year, with 10. That's their starting right end. Jamal Williams with 9, as we had gone over. On interceptions, Lito Shepherd had 6. Scott Shanley, 3, as well as Roy Williams. It looks like it's decent. They are a serviceable defense, and I think that's going to show. If they show up to play, we'll be in trouble. So we'll see how that plays out. Pass defenses, Lito Shepherd, Roy Williams, pretty much who you'd expect, Jordan Babineau. Forced fumbles, they just had a couple across the board, as you can see, quite a few folks. They're causing a lot of forced fumbles, they're recovering some of them. Antonio Pierce, their starting Mike, doing pretty well with 5, and then handful across the board here. Wow, Antonio Pierce. They had 1 block on the year by Jordan Babineau, and no safeties. And Lito Shepherd had their only defensive touchdown. So, we'll see how that plays. David Akers is their kicker. 30 of 42, 69% field goals. So, nice. 51 was his long, and he was blocked 3 times. So, again, that weak line is causing them problems. He was 45 of 45 for extra points. 14 of 15 in the 30 to 39 range, 4 of 9 in the 40 to 49, then 2 of 7 in the 50 plus. Looks like Michael Conan, their punter, is kicking off for them. He had 83 punts, 3,784 yards, 29 inside the 20, and 11 touchbacks. That's pretty good. Kick return wise, it looks like James Thrash is the only one who had a kick return touchdown, 99-yard long. Did that come against us? That might have come against us. But Lito Shepherd is their typical returner. He had 54 returns for 1,285 yards. No touchdowns, though. So it is what it is. And he was also their punt returner, and they have no punt return touchdowns on the year. Pretty solid. So that situates the AFC playoff picture as far as this 2007 postseason will go. Let's go ahead and jump over to the NFC, where we will start with the San Francisco 49ers. They are led by Matt Schaub, who is back at the helm. He was knocked out for a few weeks there, as you can see. Taken out in Week 4 against the Seattle Seahawks, and then returned in Week 14. So pretty rough stretch for them there, but he did return in pretty solid form, only throwing 2 interceptions to 6 touchdowns. Is that right? 5? Nope. That is not right. That is 8 touchdowns. Well, I'm very good at math. So his numbers are a little off for the year. 15 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 1,857 yards, 99.8 rating. They had Damon Huard as their backup, but he started in that stretch. After Schaub was taken out by the Seahawks, he only went 3 of 3 for 20 yards in that game, but then he came in and passed, went 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 1,708 yards on 134 completions. Sacked 27 times. Schaub sacked 18. Stop disconnecting, please. I really just need you to keep on keeping on. Huard had 57 completion percentage. Schaub had 62. So I think both of them did okay, and we'll see how they play out. Rushing, Sean Alexander had a career year. We can look at him. 361 touches, 1,828 yards, 16 touchdowns. He got Offensive Player of the Year for the NFC and Running Back of the Year for the NFC. He had 4 fumbles, 114 broken tackles, 3 over 20 yards, and 48 for a long. We also had their backup, Mewelde Moore, but he is injured and a non-factor now. Their fullback, Morin Norris, had 142 yards on 71 attempts, no touchdowns, 4 fumbles, 15 broken tackles, none over 20. So nothing wild there. On the receiving end, they had one 1,000-yard receiver, and that is Torrey Holt, who is a Pro Bowler. He had 85 catches, 1,444 yards, which is pretty solid. The Niners as a whole had 4 Pro Bowlers, 3 of them on offense and 1 on defense. Sean Alexander obviously managed that as well, so 325 receiving yards on 38 catches for Sean Alexander, 12 touchdowns for Holt, 1 for Alexander, who had 6 drops. Holt did 1 for Alexander. Tony Gonzalez is on this team, so we'll see how that plays out. Are you gonna bite me? You gonna bite me? 31 catches, 377 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 drops. He's doing okay. Who is their other? We'll see. Chad Clifton, their starting left tackle, had 7 sacks allowed. There it is. Chris Neole, their starting right guard, is their other offensive Pro Bowler. 57 pancakes, 7 sacks. Not too bad. The only double-digit sacks allowed was by their starting left tackle, Michael Ruse. 11 allowed and 33 pancakes. So honestly, I don't think their line is that perforated, and we'll see how they play out. I think they have a chance against their opponent, who is next on our list to preview. That will be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They had no triple-digit tacklers on the year. Gary Brackett had 96 tackles. Tuli Bantacane, their only defensive Pro Bowler, had 92. 3 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 interceptions, 4 pass defenses, 3 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, and 1 defensive touchdown. So he definitely earned his Pro Bowl spot. If we go look at tackles for loss, Gary Brackett had 10 and leads the team. Mike Rucker had 8 on sacks. Gary Brackett had that as well, 9 sacks. Daryl Smith had 6. Mike Rucker had 6. So no particularly dominant player. Paul Posluszny in his rookie year had 2. And 79 tackles. That's pretty good for him. As far as interceptions go, Deshae Townsend, their starting corner, with 6. Samari Roll with 4. Tuli Bantacane 2. Daryl Smith 2. Jerome Carter 2. They are not a particularly strong defense, but they are a very consistent defense, and I think that is going to serve them well. I think they have a shot to get into the divisional. They'll be facing off against the Giants if they can overcome the Buccaneers' home crowd. Nobody had double-digit pass defenses for their team, but, it is what it is. Forced fumbles, Tuli Bantacane with 3, as well as Rod Coleman. No wild pickups there. Paul Posluszny, 6 fumble recoveries on the year. So it looks like he seems to get in there when there's an opportunity to be had. They had 4 blocks on the year. Samari Roll got 2 of them. Deshae Townsend with 1, and Mike Minter with another. No safeties, and Tuli Bantacane, Samari Roll, and Rod Coleman each had a defensive touchdown on the year. So, pretty good defensive setup for them. Dave Rayner is their kicker, and he is trash. 23 of 37, 62% field goal. 54-yard long. He was blocked once. 41 of 42 on extra points. Not blocked, so he just missed it. 3 of 11 in the 40 to 49 range, and 2 of 6 in the 50+. He was also kicking off. 84 kickoffs, 17 touchbacks. Ryan Plakemeyer is their punter. 85 punts, 35-34 yards, and 2 of his were blocked, and 27 were down inside the 20. 13 touchbacks. Pretty good. Kick returns, it looks like Mewelde Moore is the only one who had a return for a touchdown in that, but he is injured, so it's going to be pretty rough for them. Yeah, because he also had a punt return for a touchdown, and he's injured, so their special teams might be a bit hindered. They'll have to produce on offense and hold on defense if they want to win against the Buccaneers. Speaking of, let's go check out the Buccaneers. Buccaneers are going to be led by Byron Leftwich, 88.7 quarterback rating, 3,864 yards, 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, sacked 40 times, 58 completion percentage. So not an elite quarterback, but definitely far from the worst in our postseason. Backed up by Patrick Ramsey, who didn't really do much this year. Fred Taylor is their starting halfback. He had 1,172 yards and 9 touchdowns on 246 carries. 1 fumble, 78 broken tackles, 290 yards after the first hit, and 3 20-yard plus runs. But they did not produce a ton past that. Heath Evans is their starting fullback, 191 yards and 4 touchdowns on 75 touches, 3 fumbles, and not a single rush over 20 yards. But it looks like he was capping off drives when necessary. Wait a minute. How many yards did Leftwich have? -33. Wow. I know he can run, though. Receiving-wise, nobody over 1,000 yards. Chris Henry and Braylon Edwards are starting receivers. A little over 700 each. 62 for Henry, 50 for Edwards. He is injured, though. I don't know for how long. He hasn't played since week 15, so we'll have to go check out his setup and see, where he is. What the hell are you doing, cat? Okay. Yeah, they didn't really have any standout receivers. Chris Cooley, their starting tight end, 370 yards, 36 catches. Fred Taylor, 33 catches, 367 yards, 3 touchdowns. So, who led them? Yeah, nobody really. Rice Moss. I had no idea this was a dude. Okay. Blocking-wise, on the offensive line, they only had 1 double-digit sacks allowed, and that would be Kareem McKenzie, their starting right tackle. He allowed 12 sacks and got 67 pancakes, so not bad. Buccaneers only had 1 Pro Bowler this year, and he is on defense, so we'll go find him. But it looks like their line can at least hold up, especially because the 49ers already don't have a super high-octane pass rush. They'll probably manage to hold out. Defensive-wise, they had 2 triple-digit tacklers and 1 just behind. Eric Barton with 101 tackles, right outside linebacker. Dan Morgan, their middle linebacker, with 100 even. Lance Briggs, their right outside linebacker, with 98. He was right there. Who is Nick Collins? Is their free safety and Pro Bowler on the year. 64 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 4 interceptions, 4 pass defenses, 1 fumble recovery. That's it. No blocks, no safeties, no touchdowns. So he seems to be the crux of their defensive production. No double-digit tackles for loss on the year, but pretty serviceable across the board. Gerard Warren. Interesting. Sacks, no double-digit sackers either. Kevin Carter leads with 9. Ty Warren right behind him with 8. So they are productive. It looks like they're... It lied to me. There are 2... What the Hizarizel? Brian Williams is also a Pro Bowler, so Brian Williams. Did I goof? Free safety? I did goof. I need to go back and check my check my Pro Bowl tracker. It looks like I did it a week too early. So Nick Collins and Brian Williams made it in. I guess Deion Grant got knocked out? We'll find out. We'll find out in a minute. So take my count with a grain of salt. Interceptions. Brian Williams had 6, Nick Collins had 4, and Terrence Newman had 4 as well. Neat. Pass deflections. Nobody had double digits. So they aren't causing a ton of turnovers, but they are definitely out there trying to perform. They're able to recover their fumbles a lot of the time, so that works out. No blocks, no safeties. Brian Williams and Terrence Newman got their defensive touchdowns on the year, so a pretty solid defensive unit. Olindo Mayer is their starting kicker. He was not very good. 26 of 37, 70% on his field goals, 56 long. None of them were blocked. He was perfect on extra points, 44-44. 6 of 8 in the 30-39, 6 of 9 in the 40-49, and 3 of 7, 50+. Shane Leckler, their punter, is starting for kickoffs, 91 kicks, 17 touchbacks, 76 punts, 3,285 yards, no blocks, 24 inside the 20 and 5 touchbacks. Pretty good. Kick returns, they're pretty dangerous. Terrence Newman, 1 touchdown on the kick returns, 93 yards. R.W. McQuarters seems to be their primary, 59 kick returns, 1,373 yards, 1 touchdown, 101 long. So they're pretty dangerous on special teams. McQuarters again, 61 punt return attempts, 565 yards, 1 touchdown, 59 long. That's going to be pretty rough for them. I'm going to have to go through and double check all of my numbers on the Pro Bowl, so that's on me. We now have the last wild card matchup. That's going to be the Bears visiting the Cowboys. The Bears are going into this with the worst record, 8-8. They only made it in because they won their their division, and their division was trash. Let's go check them out. They are led by Steve McNair, 92.7 QBR, 3,226 yards, 26 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, sacked 41 times, 59% completion rating. So he's okay. I like seeing him in this. David Garrard, backup, but not really doing too much. Frank Gore is their starting running back in his second year, and he had 1,586 yards, 9 touchdowns on 325 attempts, 3 fumbles, 93 broken tackles, 381 after the first hit, 5 over 20-yard runs, and 27-yard long. So not a lot of big runs, but he produced. Maurice Morris is their second-string halfback, but he is injured, so who cares? Steve McNair only had 108 yards on 23 carries, but he did have a touchdown in there. Fumbled 4 times, he broke 2 tackles, 11-yard long, so seems to be serviceable in that as well. Other than that, nobody over 100 yards. They had one 1,000-yard receiver, and he just hit 1,000 yards. 74 receptions, 1,000 yards even. 11 touchdowns, 208 yak, 4 drops, 64 long for Anquan Bolden, who seems to be their star receiver. Jerry Porter behind him, 44 catches, 621 yards, 6 touchdowns, 5 drops, 108 yak. Frank Gore, serviceable out of the backfield, 43 catches, 480 yards, 4 touchdowns, 411 yak. No drops, so you give him the ball and his hands work. Kellen Winslow, their starting tight end, 38 catches, 352 yards, 2 touchdowns, 163 yak, 5 drops, 27 long. They're doing pretty well. I would expect them to be able to perform over the air, but unfortunately this is where they fall apart. Zach Pillar, a Pro Bowler for them, that is their starting left guard, 75 pancakes, 8 sacks. Brad Meester, also Pro Bowler, 53 pancakes, 10 sacks allowed. So 3 double-digit sacks allowed, and one of them made it into the Pro Bowl. Travell Wharton, their left tackle, allowed 11, as did Dan Booning, their left guard. So it looks like left tackle, left guard, center all allowed double digits. Steve McNair is just getting hit on the left side, and that's pretty rough for them. So we'll see if they can manage something. On defense, Greg Ellis and Mike Peterson both got triple digits, with Cameron Wembley at 94, so pretty close there. Do we have any defensive Pro Bowlers? Nope, we do not. Okay. Tackles for loss, nobody had double digits. Greg Ellis and Michael Strahan both had 5. Sacks, Vonnie Holliday had 8, Michael Strahan had 6, William Joseph had 4, then oddballs down past that. Mike Peterson, their starting middle linebacker, had 4 interceptions. Quentin Jammer, starting corner, had 2. Michael Boulware, their strong safety, also had 2. Nothing past that. So they are really not doing a great job on defense, but they had a lot of pass defenses. 9 for Bullocks, 5 for Jammer, Wembley, and Mike Peterson. As you can see, they are performing at least preventative defense. 4 forced fumbles for Quentin Jammer, 2 for Holly, and then 1 across the board for a few of these guys. Not a lot of recoveries, couple for Jammer, Meester, and Ellis. Hey, Meester is their Pro Bowler. That's their center. Why is he? Because he's recovering fumbles. Okay. I guess that is a defensive action. Wow. They had 1 block by Cameron Wembley, no safeties, 1 defensive touchdown by Quentin Jammer. Their kicker, Ryan Lindell, did win an award, Kicker of the Year for the NFC. He was 26 of 30 for an 86 field goal percentage, 53 long, 1 was blocked, 35 of 36 extra points. 1 extra point was blocked because their line is Swiss cheese. 8 of 8 in the 30 to 39 range, 7 of 9 in the 40 to 49, 3 of 4 in the 50 plus. He also kicked off 82 kickoffs, 17 touchbacks. Steve Weatherford, their starting punter, 77 punts, 32 15 yards, 1 blocked, 25 inside the 20, and 7 touchbacks. Kick return, Maurice Hicks. Do they have 2 Maurices? They do. Maurice Morris and Maurice Hicks. Neat. But Maurice Hicks is their primary kick returner. 65 kick returns, 1401 yards, 1 touchdown, 94 long. Punt return. Nothing doing. They are not good at punt returns, apparently. We will go check out their opponents, the Dallas Cowboys. And the Dallas Cowboys are potentially going to go all the way. They are led by Jeff Garcia, 92.2 QBR, 3,258 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 85 longs, sacked 44 times, 56 completion rating. I did better on the completion rating, and I was trash. Chester Taylor is their starting halfback at 1138 yards and 10 touchdowns on 247 attempts. That's pretty solid. 4 fumbles, 70 broken tackles. Hello, Kitty. 3 over 20-yard runs and a 69 long. Pretty nice. Tatum Bell is their second stringer, almost 400 yards on 89 attempts and 1 touchdown. Fullback Darian Barnes, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns on 90 attempts. So, nothing too wild. They're receiving. They had 1 1,000-yard receiver with Jericho Cotchery, 69 catches, 1,066 yards, 13 touchdowns, 240 yak, and he dropped it 3 times. Looks like Mike Fury is their second stringer, and he had 36 catches, 658 yards, 7 receiving touchdowns, 2 drops, 85-yard long. Chester Taylor was pretty effective out of the backfield, 34 catches, 373 yards, 1 touchdown, 319 yak, 3 drops. So he was doing work. And then odds and ends past that, nothing too wild. Blocking, Jason Fabini, their starting right tackle, 60 pancakes, 9 sacks allowed. Chris Snee, right guard, 44 pancakes, 9 sacks. Chris Spencer, center, is the only one with triple digits, 42 pancakes, 13 sacks allowed. Jason Peters is their starting left tackle, but he seems to be injured for the wild card, so not going to be great. He had 40 pancakes and 6 sacks allowed, but I think... Okay, Justin Blaylock, rookie left guard, 17 pancakes, 5 sacks allowed. Yeah, John St. Clair has come in for Peters because of the injury. He's only allowed... he hasn't allowed any sacks, but he has had 10 pancakes. Let's see. Yeah, he came in the latter half of the season, starting week 11. He was serviceable. Defensively, London Fletcher Baker led the league in tackles with 123. And he is a Pro Bowler. So doing pretty good work there. Troy Polamalu, also a Pro Bowler on the year. So let's go check this out. Fletcher Baker, 10 TFL, leading the team on that end. Jamal Anderson in his rookie year had 7 alongside Aaron Campman and Marcus Washington. 1 second. Gotta love that winter dry throat. Sacks, nobody had double digit. Jamal Anderson led the team with 7, Campman with 5, as well as Fletcher Baker. Neat. Marcus Washington with 3, so nothing wild there. Interception-wise, Chris Harris with 6, Troy Polamalu with 5, Sean Barber and Walt Harris with 4. David Harris, a rookie, Mike out, injured, but he had 3. Randall Gay had 2. Jonathan Joseph with 1. So nothing too crazy on that end. A lot of pass defenses. Jonathan Joseph and Fletcher Baker, Daniel Manning and Walt Harris all with 6. Keith Allison with 4. David Harris 4. Marcus Washington 4. Sean Barber with 3. Chris Harris with 2. Polamalu, Bernard, Jamar Fletcher, Randall Gay, Aaron Campman, and Jamal Anderson all with 1. So they get their hands up. Forced fumbles, nobody going too crazy. Jonathan Joseph and Fletcher Baker with 3. Okay, Fletcher Baker really earned that Pro Bowl spot. Troy Polamalu, Campman, and Jamal Anderson all had 2, and then a couple guys with 1. Fumble recoveries, Fletcher Baker getting 4. 2 for a few guys. Polamalu had 1 as well, so they're doing pretty well. No blocks, no safeties. Troy Polamalu with their only defensive touchdown. Joe Nedney is their kicker. He went 25 of 30, 83% field goal rate, 55 long. He had 1 block, probably because they do have some Swiss cheese on their side. 41 for extra points, no blockage there. He just shanked 1. 7 of 9 in the 30 to 39, 10 of 13 in the 40 to 49, 2 of 2, 50 plus. Looks like John Ryan, their punter, was kicking off, 84 kickoffs, 14 touchbacks, 81 punts, 3,539 yards, 1 was blocked, 20 inside the 20, and 12 touchbacks, so not bad. Kick returns, looks like Tim Dwight is their starting kick returner, 54 kick returns, 1,390 yards. Man, not bad, not bad. So, no touchdowns and no punt return touchdowns. They had a lot of guys get their hands back there for kick returns. I wonder why. But, yeah. That is the postseason preview as far as what we will be looking forward to. Let's go ahead and pop over to the schedule itself. If I have to make predictions, looking at week 17, there it is. Colts completely blew up the Titans. They just fell apart there. Raiders managed to pull out a win over the Chargers. Niners handled the Bulldogs without a problem. So I really think the Titans have a chance. Ravens beat the Steelers without a problem. Bears couldn't even pull it off against the Saints, and the Saints suck, so I don't think they have a shot. They're limping into the playoffs, basically. Buccaneers handled the Panthers. We handled the Eagles. Patriots and Giants had a slugfest, and they're both coming in for bye weeks, so nothing doing. If the Titans keep their trend, they are going to win. However, I do think the Colts have a better offense than the Titans do a defense. If you look at the ratings, yeah, we know how it goes. But looking at it there, I honestly think the Titans don't have a shot at coming out, and it's just because they've fallen on hard times producing on the latter half of the year. If their defense comes to play, as you can see, they have a great turnover differential. They have a pretty good shot of winning. So it really just depends on whether or not McNabb is going to stay hot, or if the defense is fired up after the rough showing they had last week. In the Niners and Buccaneers game, looking at it, I think the Niners have the edge in this game. It really just depends on whether or not the Buccaneers defense is able to penetrate that line and beat up Matt Schaub. If that happens, they're going to be in good shape. But, two pretty stalwart running backs facing off in this one. So I'm pulling for the Niners. I don't really know either way. If the Ravens come back with a vengeance, we will see them beat us, but we have a good shot at keeping Grossman rattled, and our defense picks him apart. So there's a chance for us to dominate him again, which would put us into the next round of the playoffs against the Pats, who we have beaten once this year, but also got stomped once as well. So we'll see how that goes. We have managed to turn around our turnover differential a little bit, so we are ahead of them there. If we can keep from mistakes, we will win. I'm pulling for us. Here's hoping. And then finally, the Cowboys and Bears. I really don't think the Bears have a shot here. They are not able to get as many turnovers. As you can see, the Cowboys are very effective at that. We saw their production. I think they are going to be able to beat up Steve McNair, and that will result in some pretty scary situations for the Bears, and they're not going to be able to bounce back from that. But as you can also see, the Cowboys really only have a slightly better defense overall and a slightly better special teams, and they've barely outscored the Bears. I don't think the Cowboys have a great shot if they can't pull it together. Bears need to execute. If Steve McNair can keep his composure, they'll be able to make it into the divisional, but then they will get stomped by the St. Louis Rams. So I don't think they have a shot making it much further than the divisional. They're not going to show up to the conference championship this year. But I'm pulling for them just because I hate the Cowboys, man. So we'll see how that plays out. Yeah, that is going to be what we're looking at. And then if we go look at standings as well, just so you guys can see kind of how things played out. Let's go look at the NFL as a whole. Rams number 1, Pats number 2, Raiders number 3, Colts number 4, and Giants number 5. If we look at the opposite end of that, Vikings, Saints, Steelers, bottom 3, Cardinals and Packers right behind them. Nobody really doing great on that front. I'm pretty shocked by just how poorly the Vikings did, considering they have Tom Brady. So they did very, very poorly throughout the year, and I think that killed them. We can also go look here at their season stats, and we'll just take a look at the total. Passing-wise, Hasselbeck had the best rating, but Donovan McNabb had the most yards. Tom Brady had over 4,000 yards, just could not pull out a win. 26 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Didn't matter. His team got beat up. He even made it to the Pro Bowl. So As you can see, there's quite a bit going on with yards. On touchdowns, Jake Delhomme also made the Pro Bowl. 36 touchdowns, 35 for McNabb, Rivers, and Grossman. Hasselbeck had 33, Pennington had 32, as did Bolger. John Kitna with 31, Drew Reeves with 30. Then we're down into the rest of them. We led the league. Fitzpatrick with 26 interceptions, Seneca Wallace 19, Kitna 19, Winky 18. We got killed over the year. Grossman 17, Byron Leftwich 14, McNabb 13, Jake Delhomme 12, Peyton Manning 12. Peyton Manning not really doing anything this year, unfortunately, and Chad Pennington 11. So pretty rough. As far as the rushing goes, Willie Parker 2,159, Sean Alexander. We're going to see a lot of these guys make it to the postseason. But some of the most productive guys did not. 3 of the top 6 rushers are not in the postseason, so that's pretty rough there. Larry Johnson is, Willis McGahee isn't, Frank Gore is, Deuce McAllister isn't. Adrian Peterson just out of the top 10, but his rookie year is pretty solid. 1,547 yards, 12 touchdowns, 342 attempts, 5 fumbles, 92 broken tackles, 354 after the first hit, 2 over 20 runs, and only a 21-yard long. So I think we'll see him develop over the years. Receiving-wise, Donald Driver really bringing in the accolades. He and Hushmanzada both had 94 catches, but Donald Driver had 1,530, so 120 more yards than Hushmanzada. As far as touchdowns go, Plaxico Burress had 15, and then Isaac the Bruce, Donald Driver, and Joey Galloway had 14. Not too bad there. Rudy Johnson, the halfback for the Texans, had 522 yak. That's pretty good. Julius Jones with 457 right behind him. Justin Peele led the league in drops with 21. Joe Horn with 12, tied with Randy Moss. Longest reception of the year was Vincent Jackson with 86. And then tie for second, Bernard Berrien on the Broncos and Mike Fury, 85. Lee Evans, Pro Bowler, 80 yards. Blocking, Runyon, Offensive Lineman of the Year. He's even number 69. Nice. 119 pancakes. Nick Kaksher on the Packers with 99. Max Starks on the Cards with 98. Marvel Smith, Tom Ashworth, Jake Scott, so top 6. Sacks allowed, Hank Fraley, the center for the Titans, obviously leading the league. Sean Mahan, the center for the Warthogs, 15, as did Adam Meadows, right tackle for the Finns. Mark Tosher, right tackle for the Ravens. So quite a few folks here kind of getting blown up. Defensively, as I said, Fletcher Baker, 123 tackles leading the league. Will Witherspoon, 120 tackles right behind him. 117 for Leroy Hill, 16 for Keith Brooking, and 115 for Teddy Bruschi and Lofatutupu Patrick Willis. So pretty solid performances there. Tackles for loss, DeQuell Jackson and DeMarcus Ware, unreasonable numbers, 51 and 44. And then Vince Wilfork tied with Julius Peppers, 15 each. So we killed it there. And that's just because of our very aggressive defense. Sacks, DeQuell Jackson and DeMarcus Ware, number 1 and 2, respectively, 23 and 17. Tamba Hali on the Packers with 16, as well as Julius Peppers. That's a pretty good year for Peppers. Bertrand Berry on the Texans, 14, and Vince Wilfork with 13. Interceptions, as we said, we had a pretty good showing there. Ty Hill with a record 16 in a single season. Nate Clements right behind him with 14. Antonio Cromartie, third with 12. And Al Harris on the Seahawks with 10. Corey Chavis with 8, as well as Lamont Thompson on the Chargers with 8. D'Amico Ryans, who got 4 of those against us, with 8. Springs, 8. Carlos Rogers, 8. So, a lot going on there. We really wrecked in that regard. Deflections, Nate Clements and Charles Woodson, 20 and 15, respectively. So we're leading the league there. Andre Dyson on the Cards with 13, as well as Patrick Surtain for the Raiders with 13. Fabian Washington on the Rams with 12, and Bryant McFadden with 11. Forced fumbles, Lofa Tatupu leading the league with 7. E.J. Henderson on the Panthers with 6. And then 5 for, looks like the next few, but Darren Howard on the Jags. Raheem Brock on the Saints. Julius Peppers, Seahawks, and Thomas Howard on the Steelers. Paul Posluszny leading the league with fumble recoveries. He had 6, so good showing in his rookie year. Antonio Pierce with 5 for the Ravens, and then a few folks with 4. Angelo Crowell on the Bengals. Ed Hartwell on the Broncos. London Fletcher Baker, Cowboys really killing it. A.J. Hawk on the Fins. Blocks, Samari Roll led the league, but he only had 2, and then it's just a bunch of folks with 1. Safety, I mean, they're going to say Sean Taylor led, I guess, because he got it first. Who knows? But that was a pretty good showing for him. Defensive touchdowns, we absolutely killed it this year. I'm pretty sure that, yeah, these are all us. Look at that. We're the top 6. 6 for Cromartie, 5 for Clements, 3 for Spencer, 3 for Taylor, 2 for Hope, 2 for Woodson, and then Etta Hartwell, number 7. So you have to go down to the 7th place in the league to check out who else had defensive touchdowns on the year. We did pretty good. Hey, Ty Law, I didn't know you were still in the league. Neat. Kicking-wise, I mean, Grammatica made the Pro Bowl. Oh, hey, we eked in there. Sweet! I really thought we were going to get screwed out of that one because they were insistent on giving it to Shane Graham, who is going to get Kicker of the Year in the NFL and for the AFC, even though Grammatica beat him out for field goals made with 37 and had a higher percentage and had the longer kick. You're a thief, my sir. 63 extra points made and attempted. That's pretty good. So that's pretty good. I'm going to have to go update my tracker for sure because I got to make sure that is where it is. But do we have any... Nope. No perfect kickers this season, so it is what it is. Punting, Jeff Fiegels had, I guess, the highest rating, but I don't really know how they do rating for these guys, so like, I would have given it to Zastadil, who went to the Pro Bowl, because he had 35 downed inside the 20 on 96 punts, so like, that's pretty good to me. Kick returner is going to Reggie Bush, but he is injured. Best on the year, I guess. And it's just because of average. Okay, that makes sense. If you go with actual yards, Johnny Lee Higgins, the rookie receiver for the Saints, just ahead of Steve Breston, also a rookie for the Panthers. Justin Miller on the Seahawks had 3 kick return touchdowns. Dante Hall on the Cards and Devin Hester on the Vikings each had 2. And then a few folks with 1, Garrett Wolf among them. As far as long, a few folks had 104 yards, so that's pretty cool. Punt returns, average goes to Champ Bailey. Most was Darrell Revis on the Pats. Most yards, also Darrell Revis. Most touchdowns, Champ Bailey with 4, Darrell Revis with 3. Long goes to Devin Hester with 94, Darrell Revis with 91, as well as Bobby Wade on the Bulldogs with 91. So, pretty good. All right. That's it, my dudes. That's the preview of the postseason. We will go ahead and face off against the Baltimore Ravens next time. Until then, I'm your boy Jigby, and I'll catch you on the flip side.